Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you very much for tuning in. Big Man United transfer news circulating across the mainstream media today. I'm going to quote, I'm not going to plagiarize here, but I will quote him, the great, one of the funniest YouTubers in the world, have hope. The Ousmane Dembele is linked to Manchester United after a pretty good season at Barcelona. Just over 15 months left on his current deal. Man United reportedly already in talks with the entourage representatives, whatever word you want to use, basically his agent and family, to bring Dembele to Man United. What are your thoughts? Declan Rice to Man United is another mooted rumor that's going around, but kind of been debunked a little bit today by James Cooper, who is trending right now for his appearance on the great United Stand channel with Man Like Flex. One, saying that Man United are prioritizing a centre-back this summer. Don't quite know who yet, or want to know who you think we should be signing as centre-back. Get your comments in. But also, he thinks Martial is not even good enough to play in League One. Is that just sarcasm? Does he mean it? Does he know what he's talking about? I want some thoughts and feelings. We will open up the lines for you to come on and have your say. But I have a wonderful panel tonight. This is one of the best panels I've had on a 5 p.m. show in a long, long time. He's here. He stopped watching cricket. It's Man Like Neeks in the house doing his business. In terms of watching cricket, this guy's doing a dissertation on cricket. How fun is that? A dissertation on cricket. Can you imagine? I hope the examiner can stay awake through reading it. It's Man Like Ramming them peacock feathers. Looking good. Also on the show today, we've got, I love this guy. I absolutely love this guy. He's been on it. He's on Twitter every day. He's just dropping bombs left, right, and center. It's Man Like Aiden in the house. And of course, it wouldn't be a Football Terrace show anymore without this guy, Mr. Midnight Vibes, the Pope as we all call him here now, Mr. KJ in the house. How's it going, people? How's it all going?
Yeah, man, it's not too bad.
Nice weather.
It's been
Beautiful day.
Lewis
I've been
Hamilton
outside smacking a footballer out, mate.
Lewis Hamilton took the reins, #1 at Bahrain, opening up the F1. So it's been a good weekend.
Yeah.
Well done, mate. It's cool. I don't. Do you know what? I tried to get into Formula One a few years. I really tried. I wasn't. Prime just arrived. I was about to put Prime in, and he's gone again. Come, baby, come back. Where you gone, Prime? I tried to get into it, and I'm fine up until 2 laps have gone. Then I'm like, right, now what? And it's just I can. It's good though. Yeah, he won yesterday, which is good. How the Indies doing, mate?
We had a little tough start to the day against Sri Lanka, but decent session. Hopefully, we can win the match and win the series and move up the rankings.
Were there any players fighting bouncers and stuff like that?
No, they only gave one. They only have one bouncer in, like right at the end of the session, so maybe we get more.
Yeah, let you all into a little in secret here. So, Man Like Ram is writing his dissertation, and he was about an Ashes series in the 30s, and how 2 of the Australian players were seriously injured by having bouncers bowl at them, and his expression was they were fighting bouncers. Man Like KJ had an Essex moment where he said, "What do you mean they're out? They're fighting bouncers, like fighting bouncers in nightclubs."
Wait, listen. I know nothing about cricket. I would never say I do. I generally thought they were fighting, they're scrapping with the man them outside the club and that. That's what I thought.
It's just a delivery that goes like, yeah.
My favorite delivery. I love them. But we're here to talk football. Prime's here as well. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Declan Rice.
Yeah, what, mate?
Declan Rice to Man United. Very interesting.
Yes, we're going to chat about that a little bit later. The first one, though, I want to go to Aiden first on this. Ousmane Dembele. I have to go to you, bro, because you literally like buzzing about it yesterday, and then it's almost like you invented the story. But
yeah, I did, man. I've been chatting to him yesterday. He's in my cupboard, bro.
But he's been linked with a move to Man United. He says Man United are willing to make an offer for the Barcelona star this summer. If an agreement can't be reached, they will try and get him on a free in 2022. But the report suggests that if Barca can't agree a new deal with him, they're likely to try and sell him to recoup some of the money. Are you enthused or concerned about this deal?
Do you know, the thing is, like I love Dembele. He's one of my favorite players in the world. I love the way he plays. I love that he can dribble at speed. I think he's an incredible talent. You know, people compared him to Mbappe a few years ago, and now he's just sort of, you know, because of his injuries, that's what happens. But I'm not going to be completely silly and be completely unrealistic. Like, his injury record is horrific. I can't always blame that on him because you know what Barcelona are like. They're notoriously bad at managing players. But I've always said, yeah, like for me, if we said to Barcelona, look, loan with an option to buy at the end of the year, 50 million, loan with an obligation to buy if you get 30 appearances over the season, then I'd take him. If they say buy 80 million, I'd say, why don't you just don't go get Sancho? Personally, I think Dembele is better, but it's the injury record. So I'm saying, yes, I'd love him at the club, but only if the deal is correct. If they go out and shell out 80 million on Dembele, we don't get a centre-back, that's just silly. If we say loan with an option to buy 50 million, I'd be 100% on that. I love Dembele. I think he's sick. But you have to see it in context. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. If they get him instead of Sancho and they get him 50 million and they don't get an option to buy, that's just silly. But I love him. That's not. He's each one of my favorite players.
I think talent-wise, ability-wise, he's better than Sancho. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But we can't. I'm not saying you're doing it, but we can't dismiss what Sancho's done in terms of an output level, in terms of goals and assists. But he played for Dortmund after Dembele, and he's done it for 2-3 years consistently now. So at least with Sancho, you know what you're getting. One in terms of availability, in terms of lack of injuries, and it just in terms of what he's going to deliver. Of course, there's a difference between Bundesliga and the Premier League, but in terms of ability, what Dembele can do with the ball at his feet. I don't know if there's a youngster in world football who can really. There isn't. Not even in Mbappe.
And both. Can
I just say? There's a lot of fast players in the world right now. A lot of players have pace. Rashford has pace and Mbappe has pace. No one can manipulate the ball like him at speed. I don't think in the world. He got 22 assists and 10 goals in the Bundesliga in I think it was 17-18. So I'm not denying that. Like, he's got injury records. I'd love to have him, but you've got to take it contextually. No, yeah, you get a good deal. I'd love him.
Yeah, for me, there's three main things. You got the injury record. It's not great, but we've already touched on that. Yeah. Two, the disciplinary issues that he's had over the years is a concern. I'm not gonna hold it over against him right now because there's been no recent reports about that thing, but that is still something we should think about. If he comes to Manchester with the boys, will he slack off? Will he end up playing video games late into the night when he shouldn't do? All those different things. And then third of all, we talk about Rashford's not good enough in front of goal. Martial goes disappearing. Greenwood's not ready. And we need a finisher. We need someone who's clinical. Dembele bottles it more time than none. You know what I mean? We've seen him in big games for Barcelona. He does miss those big chances that can help their team. So if we're going to talk about getting consistent players and getting players that don't wilt under pressure, is Dembele.
The only thing I'd say about Dembele is Dembele is best. He's not supposed to be a finisher. If you watch him at Dortmund, he cut back constantly to Aubameyang. That was one of the best partnerships we've seen in recent years in European football. He was never someone that's going to be an inside forward like Salah and Mane that constantly finishes. He'll offer more than just goals. He won't only get his GA. He'll offer more than just goals. He'll get assists. That's something that we don't have. We don't have a winger that looks to cut it back before they shoot. And I'm telling you, Dembele, more time would. And that's one thing.
And that's a great point. Man United need a creator over a goal scorer. And sometimes with creators, listen, Ryan Giggs, one of the best creators in Premier League and European football history, cast iron facts. I've seen him miss some sitters before, especially on his right foot. Yeah. But their job is to mainly create, and we lack that as a club. I think
we do.
Greenwood away from creative responsibilities on that right-hand side is going to be imperative, and equally taking the responsibility away from all our creative responsibility away from Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It needs to happen, because suddenly, do you know what will happen? It doesn't matter if it's Ousmane Dembele, Pedro Neto, or Sancho. If we bring a creator in on that right-hand side who delivers, everybody will stop focusing on the flaws of AWB, and they'll leave him alone and say, we've got such a great defender there. It's almost because he can't do the attacking element as well as he defends, we get on at him. But for me, that role, primarily, I want to see forwards do that. You know, and if we had creative forwards, fullbacks, both at, say, like Luke Shaw's level this year, doing it consistently like Liverpool, and it wouldn't matter that our inside forwards more goal scorers than creators, but we don't. So we have to get that balance right. It's very unlikely we're going to go and drop a load of money on a really expensive creative fullback. We're just not going to do it after dropping £50 million on AWB. So you've got to spend the money wisely. And for me, as long as the injury record, that's the only thing that worries me about Ousmane. Disciplinary wise, a lot of people don't like him, but for me, Ollie's got the dressing room to a point where people are pulling their weight in the right way. I don't think anybody that's at Man United right now is taking the proverbial cutting corners, not doing things right. I think there's a good respect and a good atmosphere in the dressing room. And I think it's at a point of the club now where if a new player came in and wasn't towing the party line, I think the Paul Pogbas, the Rashfords, the Maguires would put him right. And I think that's been created at the club, which is a step in the right direction. From where we are, from a rival point of view, I got a prime on this first. Do you think in Dembele, would he be a too risky a move for Man United and Ollie, or do you think they're better off going, or do you think actually you take that risk because he's head and shoulders above everybody else technically that we're linked with? It's prime frozen. I'll go to round with that.
Wait. He does this sometimes. I'm not too sure if it's frozen or not. I've got to the point where he is. It's
the dial-up. It's the dial-up.
I thought he's thinking hard about this. He's really thinking. He's like,
right. Go on, Ram. You answer the question then, mate.
Look, everyone knows how good Dembele is, and that right-hand side has been a problem for Manchester United for the last God knows how long. And if you have someone of his technical ability, I think every team in the Premier League should be worried. I don't like we saw, his old disciplinary actions, like he was late to training, stayed up all night playing Fortnite and all that nonsense. Some people change, and from the looks of things, it looks like he's changed. Like Renato Sanchez is a good example. When he was at Swansea, came late to training, wasn't that great. And then when we went to Lille, his discipline has gone even better, and now he's a better player. Like whatever signing you get on that right hand side, if they have the technical ability and the way that Ollie manages his players, it'll be a shrewd signing.
I hear that. Jaswin here of a super chat says Ndombele and Rashford can play right and left wing. Ndombele is fantastic, but Ollie will misuse him. Ollie will misuse him and put games over him.
Come on, bro.
I will say
nice one.
Dembele's so pacey that I think Dan James has struggled to keep up with him, to be honest. Like he's fast, mate. So
Dan James is quicker than him. Let's be honest here. He is.
Really?
Dan James is like.
You seen that Spurs goal?
No, Dan James. The one thing I will say is that man should have chose sprinting. He should have chose Olympic sprinting because he's rapid, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he'd be sick of running away from ops, bro. He'd be sick of him, man.
Mate. Imagine
James trying to run away.
The other rumor that's going around today, so it kind of encompasses with what James Cooper has spoken about. There were some rumors this morning, or there's rumors that are picking up about Declan Rice to Man United. CDM is needed at the football club. James Cooper has come out today and stated that Man United are prioritising a centre-back over a CDM. Neeks, is that the right move for Man United?
No. A centre-back over a CDM? No. CDM is actually more important. I'm not going to lie. The centre-back issue is an issue, but it's exacerbated because of the midfield issue. Because you can get I'm not saying we're not going to win a title without fixing the centre-back issue. Don't get me wrong. But you can get away with it and put a strong challenge across multiple competitions if you get other areas right with the centre-backs we have. Maguire and Lindelof are not terrible centre-backs. They're just not title-winning centre-backs as a partnership. Individually, they could win a title with the right centre-back next to them. As a partnership, the best you're going to get is second place. But you can win an FA Cup, a League Cup, a Europa League. You can qualify inside your Champions League group with those as a partnership. You get this defensive midfield issue. So 80% of our games, we are controlling the ball. So if the midfield is working, then we're going to be putting teams under the cosh to the sword more often than they're going to be attacking us. We can get away with Ryan Lindelof and Bailly when he's fit, and a Twanzebe more than we can get away with
McTominay, Fred, Matic.
Yeah, the happy meal midfield
any longer. That needs to be absolutely done, finished.
Gone.
I don't mind one of them playing at any one time, but if you have two of them on the pitch at any one time, regardless of what centre back, you got problems.
That man said centre back over CD. No.
You see Chelsea as an example, bro. See Chelsea as an example. Teams nowadays, if you have a look at I'll give you an example. Look at the centre backs nowadays. How many defenders are there in the world left? Of the top centre backs, there's probably about 4 or 5, maybe 6, like Van Dijk, Ramos, Koulibaly. Defending is as a system, and it's more to do with how you defend as a unit. That's why fullbacks aren't defensive anymore. It's the only way you can get away with it. You look at Tuchel, he's changed the way they defend. He hasn't bought any new players. It's not so much about the defenders individually, it's about how they're organised. But to be honest, because pivots and the midfield is so key, ball possession nowadays is shifted to as long as you have the ball, you won't really concede as much. And we have got no ball retention with Fernandes and the happy meal midfield. It does not retain the ball.
Yeah, I will say this: if United are going to go all in for CB, it better be Varane.
It has to be.
It has to be Varane. It's the only man
elite of elite.
If they get Ben White.
No, what then?
No, listen. If you're telling me Man United go all in, we're going all in for centre back, number one priority. Spend money on it, and you come back with Ben White or Mings or something. I'm going to be vexed.
Can you imagine a core? Can you imagine this is your core at the club?
It's
like
terrible.
Maguire, Ben White,
Mings,
It has to be Varane. If you're going all in, it has to be Varane.
It was literally, you're right. It has to be someone.
There's no
elevate. So, like, if you went out and said we're going all in for even Ramos, because Ramos is lifting that whole team, that whole club.
Yeah.
Everyone is playing 10 times better because Ramos is leading that team. It can't just be a run of them. You can't go, we're going all in at Kunde. Five.
Kunde's bad, man. He's not good. He's not good. He's not
honestly, but for 1 year left on the contract, Varane, my brother, don't do a Ramos and use United for P's to get a new contract. But
crazy, right? So what we're going to
see, could link up with Pogba, French Donnies, man. It'll be a whole little Martial, Pogba, all of them, man.
Listen, absolutely. For me, it's John Myrtle and Darren Fletcher who are they're the people I'm looking at in this, because I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt and say, well, let's see what you gentlemen pull up. If we end up signing pure average players or bargain basement, or again, not filling. I know that as fans, we don't know as much about football, generally speaking, as professionals, but we all know the flaws. That the right-hand side of our attack has been problematic since 2009. We've never really got the midfield working right since the big boys retired, as an example. We've just been struggling in midfield for years now, getting the right combinations. Obviously, you've got Pogba, you've got Bruno, but we've got to get the combinations right. We tried it with Matic, didn't really work on a consistent basis. That area needs to be addressed. And I agree with Neeks. It's centre-back does need to improve, but I don't see it as being as big a priority as the central midfield area, which is the hub of any game. And it's also important because like I see a lot of people talk about playing with two players in the double pivot. When Tuchel does it, it's seen as sort of futuristic, innovative, twin sixes, it's amazing. When Oli does it, it's, we're negative, we've got a double pivot again. So what I hope is we buy someone that can play in that role, that's a bit of a baller that everyone likes.
That's the thing,
just stop people moaning, and it would make my timeline experience a lot better. Like, people would not moan as much if they enjoyed the players. Like, if we pick two players like that, who were looked at as sexy footballers. Everybody's like, I love watching Ndidi and Pogba play together. It doesn't matter what they're on. People suddenly forget about CDM.
The bottom line is, Terry,
I like watching them play, and it could kill so many birds with one stone.
It's about having two players in there. It's about having two players in there who can keep hold of the ball. Jorginho and Kovacic, whether you want to play them more attacking, Jorginho's not going to do that. But if you want to say pass forward or pass sideways, they're keeping the ball. Fred and McTominay can't even keep hold of the ball. That's a real issue. So playing the two in the middle, that will go in the bin once we realize, well, whoever those people are, they're actually controlling the possession. They're passing. They're keeping the ball moving. Then man take 3, 4, 5 touches and then misplace the pass.
Exactly. They don't even do anything good.
Your prime, Mr. expects everything and he knows what's going to happen because you just know. Tell us what Man United should we do? Should we be going for a centre back or should we be going for the CDM right wing spot? And should it be Declan Rice and Dembele?
Yes, Declan Rice and Dembele. I think buying Varane would be a mistake because knowing what your board is like, you're not going to buy a centre back to partner him. I think Maguire and Varane wouldn't work as a partnership.
Why not?
Nor would Lindelof.
Why not?
Nor would Bailly.
It would work better than what we have now.
Yeah, definitely.
It would work better, but knowing what your fans are like, you would still complain.
Well, listen, yes. I mean, that's. I agree with you on that point. I think. Do you know what I mean? I really do.
What
Nothing more needs to be said.
Wait, Prime. What won't we complain about? Tell us, please, because every day it's but your fans will complain. Your fans will complain. What won't we complain about then?
What, Man United fans?
Yeah.
At least for the most part, anyway. If Ollie was sacked and Poch was in, I think if you look at what you've done this season, if Poch was in charge, I don't think people would be complaining. Because then it would be a thing of it's not the manager, it's the squad, and people would actually focus on the board.
So yes or no? What will happen is it's never the same people that go for each manager. It's a new group. You would have another group that would defend Poch for being in this position, and you'd have another group saying, "But he ain't good enough." I look at it this way: like if Ollie was the shit gold, people would moan it ain't platinum. That's how I feel about some people with Ollie. No matter what the man does, they'll be on him. So you've got to look at it objectively. Before we go to calls, we're going to share the link very soon on the Discord, in the general chat room, and in the live chat functionality here. Smash the like button first of all. But I want to go to Aidan first on this. James Cooper today said that Anthony Martial is not good enough to even play in League One. This is like a Sky News reporter really digging into Martial today. What did you make of his comments?
Well, look, I think if you're a Sky News reporter, I think you should never be saying that. I don't think you should ever be saying that. You're a correspondent for the club. I think you should have a little bit more respect. You're not a fan on a fan channel. You're a correspondent. And also, I find it kind of ironic at the start of the video, because I watched the video, he said, "Oh yeah, I think United, I would quote him, he said, we missed the boat not getting Haaland." That's what he said. So he says we missed the boat getting Haaland. He doesn't like Martial, insults and calls him an Ipswich level striker. But then 10 minutes before, he says, the Glazers aren't stingy. Ask any Man United fan, are the Glazers stingy? 100%. They sold stocks to give Tom Brady a new contract, and you have the arrogance to say they're not stingy. You have the arrogance to say they're not stingy. And then, so maybe if you criticise the Glazers that you want to stay in their press conferences so bad, we would have had Haaland over Martial. But instead, because you're a yes man, we don't have Haaland and we have Martial. And that is not anyone else. It's not my fault, because you're just accepting it and you refuse to criticise them when you should be. That's why we don't have Haaland. That's why you have Martial, mate. So I don't want you to criticise Martial. To come out and disrespect a player like that as a Sky journalist, who does he think he is? It's
completely disrespectful.
It's complete. You're a correspondent for Manchester United Football Club. You should not be saying that. If you have an issue with him being up top, why don't you get at the Glazers? Because they're the ones that bottled the Haaland deal. They're the ones that bottle every deal. They're the ones that spend the money on Tom Brady, if you're that irritated. But no, it'll get you clicks, won't it? Just get, actually,
I think that's the issue here. You can clearly see that journalists, correspondents are now going for the YouTube shock jockey kind of approach, where it's like, I need to get myself a bit more out there. What can I say? Oh, let's say that Martial can't play in League One. I don't think he actually believes that. I just feel like
the man is a Premier League player and plays international for France.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like he doesn't actually
scored 23 non-penalty goals last season. For God's sake,
he's just trying to shock. And people saying he's disgraced. That's your prerogative, and I personally, I don't really care what he has to say. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care what he has to say, as long as it's if it's not Man United related in terms of transfer business.
My issue is if you want to say that, can I just say, if you want to say that about Martial, have the same energy for the Glazers, but you don't, because you want to stay in their press conferences, don't you? Stop talking.
You see, my issue is that because he's in a position of such notoriety, I wouldn't say power, but his voice, when James Cooper speaks about Man United, people listen.
Yeah.
To publicly say that about a Man United player or any player of Premier League level I think it's very disrespectful. It's not, for me, it's not an opinion because, again, I don't believe he truly believes it. So why are you putting that out there? Because there are people, where it could be Martial, it could be Dan James, it could be McTominay, it could be Rashford, it doesn't matter, who don't like or hate or have an agenda against Martial or any other player. With a person in his position puts something like that out, it allows those people to then feed into it. Well, James Cooper, who is very close to Man United, says it. There's probably people within Man United who also believe it, etc., etc. So I think I don't think he's right to go and say it. What I would say is that I don't have an issue with anyone having a genuine opinion that Martial is not good enough for Man United or Martial is not good enough for the Premier League or whatever it might be. But to say a Man United player who is playing for France internationally is not good enough for League One, you don't truly believe that. So why did you go and say it?
You don't.
He's obviously
and then to gloss over the Glazers as well, and then have an issue with Haaland when if you actually said something, we wouldn't have Haaland.
My take on it is, I agree with everything Neeks has said there. I think it's with all the current problems that we're seeing footballers on social media, it's wrong to do what he did because it's going to create, from people that dislike Martial, create more. It will validate their reasons to dislike him, and they'll use it as a reason. I think the Glazer comment's interesting. The stingy comment is very interesting indeed because they have spent a lot of the club's money. But where I would have challenged James Cooper is that, okay, they've spent hundreds of millions of pounds in the last 5 years, but they've spent it on swaz. They've spent it on absolute nonsense.
And they've taken out 10 times that, so it doesn't even matter, does it?
No, I know that, and I know
Exactly.
that. And so what people do, they're very clever when they say the Glazers have spent money, because when you look at how much we've actually spent, there's only a handful of clubs in the last 8 years that have spent more money than Manchester United. But that isn't the challenge, because it's semantics. It's they're not stingy. They've spent £800 million on transfers in the last 6 or 7 years, which is a lot of money. But it's a case of on what, on who, and how much have they taken out. I never see when anyone I see of notoriety defend the Glazers, I never see the journalist or the interview or anybody going back in with that question, or at least getting there, not to try and catch them out, not to try to get an I got you moment. Say, well, what about this? Because I want to hear their opinions on how the Glazers spend it, the money they've taken out of the football club. But you're right. A lot of people won't because they're worried about having the credentials taken out and stuff like that. There's no doubt. We're going to go to your calls now. We're going to get you on the air to have your say, whether you want to talk about the Ousmane Dembele to Manchester United. Should Man United be prioritizing a centre-back or a CDM? Which of the two would you go for? And I do want to hear your comments on what James Cooper said today, saying that that Anthony Martial is not good enough for the Premier League. We want your views and opinions. The links are on the general chat page. First on the show, my guy, my brother, Danny, Devil in the Details, is here with us. What you saying, mate?
It's going to be fire.
First of all, you guys are rude for not getting Aiden some tissue for that crying he was doing about James Cooper. Seriously. But it's the definition of hyperbole. I've got nothing more to say than that. I just tuned in, so I saw Terry I was going to bring up the Glazer spending. Some people are just grown-ups. Journalists are grown-ups. Based on the Glazers model, they accept it for what it is. Are they stingy? No. They spend the cash the club have, take a little bit out for themselves. It is what it is. We can be angry at it as fans, but journalists are just objective about it. We actually spend enough money to be successful. We just don't spend it, right, as Terry said before. On the centre-back thing, this is the problem. Woodward doesn't distinguish between attacking midfielders and our central midfielders. He counts all those bodies as one. So with Lingard coming back from loan, Pereira coming back from loan, he's just going to look at the bodies in there and say, I'm not sanctioning no more midfielders. We're getting rid of Hojo. We're getting rid of Phil Jones. Chris Smalling's already gone. He'll sanction a centre-back for that reason. That's how Woodward manages things. He doesn't actually look at the team and say, this is what you need, so I'll go and sanction and moves for this. He doesn't work that way.
No,
you're right. I saw you before, Nix. What you said is 100% right, but we need to understand. When you're assessing Fletcher on Murtaugh, you need to understand the constraints first before you judge them, right?
No, yeah, but Danny,
but
the question has to be asked on this summer, how close he is to those decisions. And I say that in the sense that if Woodward says your budget is 100 million, I don't care what you do with it, in the sense of if you say you need a midfielder or a defender or a striker, That's up to you. I'm not giving you no more than that. He shouldn't, especially in the position now that we have the technical director, we have the director of football, and obviously the manager all contributing to that decision about who to go and get. If they say, you know what, I'm willing to buy another midfielder and forego a position or a body in defense, what sense would Woodward have in rejecting that if he's not looking at?
I'll tell you, that's not our structure.
I'm not understanding.
It's not our structure, Nick. So something that the Athletic reported recently, the reason why we're so slow to do things is the Glazers, along with Woodward, they micromanage everything. So they're not just, what you just said was very, very logical. Here's your budget, do what thou wilt. That's not how we operate. It will be, who do you want to buy? How much are they going to cost? In what position? You want another midfielder to add to Pogba, Matic, Fred, Bruno, Lingard, and Pereira. They'll be collected as one. Now we're not doing that. No, you're not getting another midfielder. How much for Declan Rice? 60, 70 mil?
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say with this? I don't get what you're trying to say. What is your point by saying
child?
this?
I'll tell you what I'm saying. I'll tell you what we're saying.
You don't need to get
Neeks is
angry.
right.
Relax.
Neeks is right. Neeks is right. We should get a DM over a centre-back, but Woodward will not sanction that. So we will get a centre-back first because that's what he's going to sanction. That's it.
But here's my question then, though, because when this whole new structure came in, I got a lot of stick for saying what I said. I don't believe it looks like a front. It's still Woodward on the reins. What you're describing to me is not a structure that is going to change the football club. It just sounds more like Woodward at the reins. So yeah. So is there actually any change at all?
That's where the proof's in the pudding is going to be, Kate. And you're right. That's where we'll see, because if what Danny,
the change is Woodward no longer picks targets. That's a massive change.
Again, no, I don't get that. So that will help. But again, if we're not signing the right roles that we need at this moment in time, it's still going to be a much.
So we'll get the defender that we want, but we don't. But we won't get a CDM that we need first before the defender.
Yeah. So
it's not a problem.
But let's see what happens, and that's the point. I think what Danny said goes on. We know it goes on. We've seen it with our own eyes. It's about whether or not it continues in this kind of new regime. And as things move forward as well. We're going to go to another caller now. Danny is coming back. We're going to go to another caller. We're going to get TJ on the line with us here as well. TJ, what are you saying, mate?
Yeah, I'm not bad. First of all, if you hear the parrot or the dog in the background, I apologise.
Did you say parrot?
Yeah, parrot.
Oh, you have a parrot? Oh, cool.
It was driving Terry and the girl mad the last time I called in.
It was very annoying.
Yeah, but I basically just came on to say, I don't think Martial's actually that good. I don't think he's good enough for Man United. Even when he was having a brilliant season last season, I still didn't think he was that good. And I think it's just, I found it quite embarrassing when he got compared to Aubameyang. I know Aubameyang hasn't had a good season this year, but don't compare them two. I'm not saying anyone here compared them, but I've just seen people around comparing them. Also, don't try and get Dembele. He's literally got an injury list as long as my arm. The guy's, the amount of game time he's missed from injuries, it's kind of like another Eric Bailly situation. So I would try and avoid him. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are.
I've got a question for you. Why, in your opinion, why isn't Martial good enough for Man United? Why is it about him that you see it?
He's nowhere near clinical enough. Nowhere near clinical enough. The guy misses too many chances.
Aidan, what's your thoughts on what you said there about Martial and Dembele, not Ndombele, Dembele?
Yeah, I think the Dembele thing is completely legitimate. I've never said anything against that in terms of I can understand why someone wouldn't want him. I love him as a player, but I don't, 80 million on a straight to buy, mate. No, thanks. If I'm honest. But with Martial, I'd say the ironic thing is that you've said Martial wasn't good enough, but the exact thing that Martial is good at and you didn't have when Lacazette was out and you really struggled without is hold-up play and technicality at the ST. Now Lacazette's back, you're seeing that is really benefiting you. So I think a player like Martial does have his place as a false nine, but he needs to have, similarly like Firmino has, 2 goal scorers next to him. I think to say he's not good enough for Man United, that's saying he's not clinical enough. But in the modern game, he's an incredible false nine. He's very, very, very good.
I'll give him credit for the way. I'll give him credit for the way.
Yeah. No, let me just finish. he is actually one of the most clinical strikers in terms of he outperformed his XG by 2 last year. That's ridiculous. Saying he's not clinical is not true. It's just this season he's not. What you want him to do is you want him to make striker-like runs and run into the box at the end of the crosses. He's never going to do that. So any manager would say, okay, he's not going to do that. Like Aubameyang won't hold up the ball, so don't expect him to. Put 2 wide strikers next to him that will score like you have with Firmino. So if you think he's not good enough, and Ole thinks he's not good enough, it's on Ole to have, or the board to buy 2 wide strikers for him. And that's part of the reason why I say get Dembele. But the thing is, yes, Martial is never going to be like Cavani. He's never going to be. But what, like, you say he's not consistent in his being clinical. He outperformed his XG by 2 last season. He's just underperforming it to the degree that he is this season.
Aiden, I got a question in terms of because I think he's good enough for Man United. I don't think he's good enough to be Man United striker. Now, of course, if you want to be a false 9, as you said, you can go out and get
that's different. Yeah,
you have to go out and get like a Salah and a Mane because you can't. Greenwood is a striker playing out of position. It's a different. Exactly. A wide forward, but I think he's good enough for Man United, but as a left winger because his best season was last year, and his first season at Man United he plays as a striker. But when he played on the left, just before Sanchez came, for example, when him and Rashford were trying to battle for the position, and then he kind of got that position just before Sanchez. He was playing on the left. He was playing very, very well. Then when he gets a chance, when he's coming inside, he can take it because generally his finishing has been very good. This season has been terrible. But I think what we want from our striker, and especially the way that Manchester United play, we always talk about the Man United way, the way that we want to play, we need someone in the box who's going to be scoring goals. As far as and for what Solskjaer wants. Solskjaer wants a striker who's going to score goals. So I think we need to get a striker, but it doesn't mean you have to sell Martial at the same time.
Yeah, can I just clarify? I completely agree with that. Can I just say I completely agree with that? Like, I don't think Martial is a 40-goal a season, Kane, Lewandowski. I've never said that. I don't think he is. But I think to say that he's not good enough for Man United, you're basically saying that he's not the type of striker you want. That's different. In terms of being a false 9, if you had 2 wide strikers next to him, Martial would be one of the best false 9s about. He would be one of the best because he's incredible being a false 9. But if your point is he's not the type of striker we want, that's fine. But also I'd add to that, if you want to play a striker like Kane, I don't know if you'd be able to have a wide striker like Rashford next to him for the whole season. Because I don't know, unless you get someone on the right that is very, very, very creative,
you'd have to get
they would interfere with each other anyway. Yeah. So Rashford makes more sense on the left as a pair with Martial as a wide striker than Kane would up front anyway.
Who would you sell first?
Yeah, can I come back at the clinical point?
We'll come back in a minute, Katie. Go on, TJ.
Okay. I want to take you back to a game last season. You'll probably remember this very well because obviously you're a Man United fan, but semi-final of the Europa League, Sevilla, I don't know how many chances Martial missed. Must have
the whole team missed about 10 chances, bro. That's not Martial. But that's the whole team missed chances. To single out Martial, like the whole team missed chances.
Yeah, but I agree, Aiden. But as the number 9, it's like if Maguire missed 2 sitters and Martial missed 2 sitters, I'm gonna get onto Martial more because he's a striker. Guys, but I agree. It wasn't just him, but as a striker, your responsibility to score.
Yeah, listen, great call, TJ. Thank you very much for coming on and having your say. Really do appreciate that. Everyone, I'm going to share the link in the comment section again. If you want to dial in and have your say, talking Martial, is he good enough? We're speaking about Ousmane Dembele to Man United, and what should be the priority, centre back or CDM? We're the chat from CJ. CJ, KJs, TJs, all on the show today. This is Matic in a swap deal for Sander Berg. At Sheffield United plus 15 million. What?
That's a deal that he did on FIFA.
It's actually
Sheffield don't want him. Like Sheffield's not taking Matic.
Sheffield
150k a week.
His wages, bro.
They can't afford to move in there.
By the way, on the James Garner thing, he doesn't need 1 year. He needs a couple of years because my dad's seen him play for Nottingham Forest. He says he needs a lot of work. He needs more experience in the game.
Yeah, but from reports and from what people are saying, he's still one of the good. He's
a top talent. He says he's a top talent. There's a reason why people are gassing him up.
He is a top talent. There's no doubt. Next on the show, we're getting Abs on the line. Man like Abs, what you saying, bro?
What are you saying, fellas? How are you?
All good.
Good, man. How you doing?
No, I'm all good. About to go play some football, so good to
come on,
you guys.
Right.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, so about all these sort of transfer lists, obviously with regarding the Martial slander, like you guys said, it's clickbait. I'm not even taking any notice about it. But with the Dembele sort of thing you guys were talking about, personally, I would still prefer Sancho. Just me personally. Just the injuries. I love Ousmane Dembele. I think he's just a saucy footballer, but I can't spend above 40 million on a player that I know is an Eric Bailly and Matip. I just think it'll be a waste of money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone could.
That's fair. That's fair.
Look at that criticism and say that it's an issue. If that makes sense, I think that's the only thing with him. Even in the summer when we were linked to Harry Kane, my thoughts were another ankle injury. I was sort of like, I want to see how he plays for the next year to see whether he's actually over it, or because I always feel with certain players, if they have too many injuries, I think like with Ousmane Dembele, if he has one, maybe two more bad hamstring injuries, he's finished. We saw it with Michael Owen and we saw it with Fernando Torres. They just had one too many, and then the body just let them down. They were never quite the same, and that's my concern with Dembele. You drop big money, he has that major injury, and then it would just be Man United's luck, wouldn't it? Like for that to kind of happen in relation to that.
Yeah,
okay.
And the thing is, I know obviously all the guys, anyone that has sort of fast twitch muscles are more prone to muscle injuries. That's why Daniel Sturridge, as much as for all his talent, he was just always injury prone. And Dembele is another one that is always going to be prone to muscle injuries. And I would rather get Sancho. I think if Dembele out of a talent is 10 out of 10, Sancho is a 9.5. That's not a bad option if you
facts.
I love about the argument is someone asked me who would I prefer last year, and I said Sancho, and I still stand by Sancho. And people, and what are you saying? Are you saying Dembele's rubbish? No, I think he's brilliant, but it's picking with Sancho. I just think you're going to get more game time, hopefully, out of him.
And plus, everyone always questions, but if Sancho came to the Premier League, could he hack it? It's like,
stop that.
I'm just like, bro, in the same breath, you're saying bring Dembele to United. I'm just like, fam, imagine Dembele at Stoke, bro. At Burnley, getting absolutely clattered by Tarkowski and them man there, bro. The Ben Mee and the brothers, fam. You know what I'm saying? Is he going to hack that? Is his body going to be able to handle that? So, I don't know. It's a big risk, and I would prefer a Sancho, a Pedro Neto, a Rafinha, players who
Neto's good.
Yeah, players who I've seen in a similar environment, and they can hack it. So Dembele is a massive risk.
Can I ask a question? Because I haven't actually watched this interview of James Cooper. Did they speak about anything to do with like budget in terms of what transfer budget we have for the summer? Or
I don't really think we did.
No. I haven't watched
we know it's good. I don't think we've spent. I mean, Terry, you see, he's like net spend isn't real. I don't think we've spent like over like 100 and something. Apart from like even whenever we sign someone, we sell someone. Like Lukaku, we sold for like 75 mil. Then we buy someone. We never buy someone and just buy them. Not like sell.
The reason why I ask is because even if a defender is our priority, let's say we say it's 100 mil, we spent 50 mil on a defender. We still got 50 mil to spend on a defensive midfielder if it's available. But it depends how much we've actually got. And I guess we're gonna have to make some sales.
Apparently, people are saying he mentioned 100 million is what United have got.
So you've got to remember about the 100
million. And that's
million.
not stingy.
Well, you've got to remember what 100 million means. So
that cash.
That's the cash. So it doesn't mean we'll only spend £100 million in terms of total on players. We've got 100 to spend this year. So most transfers are not paid cash up front. So it's a case
they're not.
You sign a £50 million player, but you're paying £10 million a year. Thus, you've got 90 million ballpark. If we're going to boil it down, left out of that money. So the only way that gets eaten is if we have a Harry Maguire situation where the club can't get a deal sanctioned where we don't have to pay a large amount up front. That can eat into who else you buy. If we do the deals right and we structure it correctly, this is why it's important. If you do the deals right and you structure it correctly and you buy the right people, so in another year's time, we don't need more centre backs, you don't need more midfielders. That's all you have to spend for a couple of years. Like that's our problem.
Yeah. So people in the comments are saying he said that's 100 million, and that's not including player sales. So we've got player sales on top of that as well.
Yeah.
That could be that. Okay, in this market, 100 million as a base isn't actually that. It's actually decent. Like, it's actually decent in terms of the market that we're in. It's about, like, it's like Terry said, it's about how we spend it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's how we spend it. And apparently, Danny's saying 100 million max, so maximum without player sales is 100 million.
So again, you've got player sales, but it's also what players leave, because a Matic, say someone comes in with a good offer for Matic, what we think is a good offer, you have more money available than to spend on players because Matic is on a huge salary. So it's not there isn't as a war chest. There isn't such thing as net spend in the watered down sense that the newspapers give us. It's about there's an amount of money each year available for player expenditure, and that includes salary, bonuses, agent and representative fees, and of course transfer fees that go out. So if you sell 3 players that are on 200 grand a week each for a combined transfer fee of 60 million, or you signed another 3 for 60 million that were on 50 grand a week, you have more money to spend with the first group because you're saving an extra £150,000 a week in salary. That's back into your pot. The same thing works when people say things like, "Oh, Poch never got money," or "Klopp didn't." Their wage bills increased by tens of millions of pounds a year. That's investment, because then you don't lose the players that are within your squad. When you have successful players, you give them new deals to keep them. That's investment. But they don't talk about that in the media because it starts becoming complicated. And if you make it too complicated, nobody's interested in listening. That's what investment is real. So we've got money to spend, and it's about spending it right. And if we get rid of the right people, free up the wages, spend it and structure it right, but target the correct individuals so that they're here, like Bruno's, like AWB's. I think good signings that, we haven't got to reinvest in that particular area in a star player for 4, 5, 6 plus years, depending on their age. That's how we need to start spending out. Look at Rooney's a prime example. Rooney cost £27 million, and he gave us a decade. And 27 million was a lot for him. But if you divide how much he cost by each season, we got quality performances out of him, you'd pay £2 million a year to have a Wayne Rooney.
Trust me.
You need to look at how my other half does. If she buys a bag for £1,000, it's like, well, I look at it like every time I use it, she breaks it down cost per use, and it's going to last 10 years. Actually, per use, it's only like £5. That's how she works it out. That's how we've got to do it. Shane here says, people say I rather play at a club. Sorry, people say I rather a player that play 90% of the time and give you 6 out of 7 out of 10 than a player that gives you 9 or 10, 50% of the time. We do Pogba.
We've got that player who plays 50% of the time and gives us 90%.
No, I'd say Pogba gives you. I'd say the thing about Pogba is, I'd say he's actually one of the people that, although he doesn't maybe score all the time, his technical ability means that he gives you like an 8 out of 10 the majority of the time. I'd say that more applies to people that.
Aiden, that's what he's saying.
I thought he said Pogba is the one that gives you like a.
I'm guessing
50% of the games.
9 out of 10.
Yeah, but I think what he's trying to say.
That's what I was saying. I think Pogba gives an 8 out of 10, like 90% of the games. Yeah, technically, I think he's quite sound.
I assume what he's trying to say is the other 50% is a low, like below 5 or not even playing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. In terms of Paul Pogba, he does do a lot of stuff that goes unnoticed. I on the ranking show the other day, I was fighting tooth and nail for the respect that he deserves, because people
look at Prime.
People want to.
It's what Aiden said. It was a bit weird. You said based on actually finish, KJ.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Based on, did you say based on technical ability?
No, not based on technical ability. It was, for a lack of a better word. What I was trying to say is that a player like Pogba, because his touch is good, because his ball manipulation is good, because his short passing is good, often he'll have a baseline of 7.5-ish out of 10. If he scores a goal, it goes up to 8 or 9. If you have someone like maybe Rashford, when his touch isn't as good, on his basic fundamental level, he's not as technically gifted. If he doesn't score a goal, often it looks worse. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Pogba, when he plays, he's usually like a 7.5 out of 10. Even if he doesn't score, he doesn't have to score to have a good game.
His base level, his base level average game for him is basically a 7 out of 10. You're kind of saying.
Are you giving that a base level in terms of how you judge all players, or in terms of how you judge someone like Pogba, whose talent alone is probably the best midfielder in the world.
Prime,
Again, yeah, that's different. You could, yeah.
I'm sorry, Prime. I was going to say, for example, a Pogba average game is a 7, 8 out of 10. A McTominay good game is an 8 out of 10. That's how the difference between a top class player and an average player.
So on that same logic, then, sorry, I'm just trying to understand, because this is the first time anybody that is judging ability. So you're giving, because of how good his first touch is and just how good he looks when he does things, you're instantly rating him higher. I can buy that. Shouldn't that then mean that we have a much higher?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. That's fair.
If Pogba goes 5 games without creating a chance, and McTominay goes 5 games without creating a chance, the criticism should only really be on Pogba because he's baseline higher level.
Yeah. But I would argue, Terry,
which is what? Sorry,
I would argue that
go on, Nick.
If Pogba's say passing percentage was at 90%, he's passing it around, but he doesn't create a big chance or score a goal, people would say, "Oh, Pogba didn't do nothing today." But if McTominay did that, we'd be like, "McTominay had a great game." So Pogba's average game
is someone's good game.
Exactly.
Paul Pogba was 6 for most footballers is their 9 or 10.
Because
we
expect much
I
more.
completely agree with that. And people always
That's fine.
People always always try and put Pogba isn't like.
Wait, what?
What's wrong?
What's wrong?
Most players anyway are. So you're saying an average performance from Pogba is a good performance for most players, but most players are average anyway. So if most players are having a good game, hold on. You can't say because Pogba has a good performance by most average players' good standards, then he's still a world-class player if he's not performing at that. Because if he's not performing at that world-class level or at that level he should be at, I'd
say, can I say something too? Can I say something? You can't name many players that the level that we're expecting Pogba to get to. I can't name many players that are doing that week in, week out, every single week at a club as disorganized at Man United. Everyone that Pogba gets compared to, Kroos, Kimmich, De Bruyne, look at the clubs they're at. People expect Pogba, and this is what I'm saying. Pogba gives his baseline for what the club that he's at can allow him to. If you're like him and you're being played in a pivot, which is difficult to international, it's not the same. It's hard for him to be giving 9 out of 10s on his level every game. But unlike De Bruyne, when he's got the entire system to fit him, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Pogba gets compared to every player that's like in Bayern Munich, and he's easy to play.
Before you go, Prime, I just want to make this point to your point. What do we ask of top quality players? If you're gonna drop a stinker, at least be a decent level, at least be average. That's what Paul Pogba does. Like you can say that Paul Pogba is Paul Pogba 6 is someone else's 10 is because he's doing what you ask him to do. If you're going to be a top class player and you're going to drop a poor performance, at least let poor performance be as good as what someone else's 10 would be, and that's what he does.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Go on, Prime.
I think.
All right, if I look at in terms of Chelsea, when Hazard had bad performances, you could say his bad performance was equal to Willian when he's running the game. But I'm more critical of Hazard because I expect these world-class performances. I expect them from Pogba as well. You can't use the default excuse of the team that he's at because I see a lot of inconsistencies within him. I rate Pogba highly and I love the guy, but
and Prime, that's
Terry. Terry, can I ask that question? You know the question I've asked you, Terry. Give me one player that for 18 months has been consistent for Man United since Ferguson left Bar De Gea.
And you're absolutely right. And that was going to be my response to
no
Prime.
one.
They're all consistent. That's fine.
Prime. So I think you are absolutely right. We should be more critical of the better quality players. That's the prerequisite of life. The better, the kids that are bright at school, they're misbehaving. They seem to get in more trouble than the kids that are not so bright because you can actually do this and you're capable. Capable people should always be held to a higher account than people that don't have the same capabilities. But with what we're saying is with Paul Pogba, if it isn't a 10 out of 10 world-class performance, people are like, at a poor game. They disregard that it can be a little bit lower. And you see that, there's been a handful of players in this world that were just ripping it up every single game. And I bet if you actually followed Zidane's career from front to back every match, there would have been many games where, it's a quiet game today. I've watched 100%. Ronaldo on many occasions have quiet games. Cristiano Ronaldo have quiet games or games where he's not impactful. It just happens. And in one sec, Prime. And on your point around Eden Hazard, right? It's people use that excuse for him. The team that's around him. But the season before, that team were winning the league, and the season after, that team won the league. It's not the same thing as Man United, who have sat in and mediocrity for 8 years. It's a very different scenario. It's a false equivalence.
I know, and I didn't accept those excuses for Hazard. And if you were using, what are the examples you were using, like Beckham and stuff? Them having the occasional bad game or average game is fine, but when someone like Pogba is continuously inconsistent, you have to be honest with what you see.
But it's not though. It's a myth. It's a myth.
He's not inconsistent. He isn't. When you look at it, whether you're looking at it statistically or looking at it with the eye test, generally speaking, in the role that he plays in, he delivers. What happens to Pogba is this: he'll be in a position where his job's to be the creator, and he creates opportunities in the game, but he didn't dictate the play. Well, he was playing 10 yards further forward. That wasn't his job today. Or he'll be in the double pivot and he's doing his job. He's dictating play. He's holding on to the ball. He's not losing it. He's retaining possession. He's moving it into the wide areas or into the creators. He didn't create any chances today. That's not.
It's because he's so complete. That's the thing, Terry. It's because when you look at a player like Pogba, he's 6'2", and people assume that he'd be able to defend. He's a good dribbler. He can shoot. He can pass. He can head. He's one of the most complete players in the world. Fact. So that's why people expect him to do everything. What we're saying is, for the club that Pogba's at, you can't expect De Bruyne levels of constant 10 out of 10s because it's impossible. If you're comparing Pogba to the players like Kroos, players like De Bruyne, players like Kimmich, you have to be under the notion that he's not at a club like that. If Pogba was at a place like Juventus, he'd be doing it every week, which he does when he was there and he does for France. And that's what I'm saying. You can't expect him to be 10 out of 10 when he's at Man United.
Just to finalize this conversation, sorry, Prime, it's very simple to me. One other thing Man United have a problem with is the lack of quality. So we've seen it with Bruno. When Bruno doesn't have a game where he is the goal scorer or he sets up the match winner, he gets stick. My view is, who fucking else stepped up? Like, it shouldn't, it's a team sport. And Pogba went through this his whole time at United. If he wasn't the star, he was singled out as the reason that we didn't win. And I'm like, that isn't how team sports work. This season, De Bruyne's got quite a few assists, hasn't really scored too many goals. Gundogan stepped up. They haven't had Aguero scoring lots of goals for a little while. Somebody else has stepped up. If Mahrez, the other day in the FA Cup, I don't know which two it was, but Sterling and somebody else got pulled off, and they brought Mahrez and KDB on. They have someone else to step into the fray and deliver. When you have one, maybe two stars, the onus is on them to be the match winners. If it doesn't come off, it's like they get it's rather than looking at the club and saying, actually, the problem is there isn't enough star quality to spread the wealth, spread the pressure, and it's all on them to. They get singled out far too much, in my opinion. But viewers, we want your thoughts and your opinions on that. Thank you very much for coming on, mate, and having your say.
Cheers, fellas.
Really appreciate that, bro. We'll do one more caller tonight. A Man United striker finishes a chance against PSG. Martial not playing enough. Listen, he missed that night. And you know what also happened that night? Fred was
sent off.
Should have been multiple. And I agree with what Aidan said earlier. You shouldn't just single out one player all the time. Martial missed chances. Some players didn't make the right passes in that game. Defensive mistakes were made.
Williams was awful that game. So exactly.
You get these things that happen, and it's about being fair. There's no doubt about it. David's with us. David, what you saying, mate?
Are you guys gonna ever get linked to a player you actually want?
David, it's not even want. It's more like need. It's not even want. It's need. We don't even get linked to players that we need, my brother.
Honestly, like this whole the Pogba thing is whatever. Personally, I would actually get rid of him. Not because he's a bad player, but I just feel like there's no winning in this situation. So I'd cash in on him now, try and get 2 extra stars rather than just have him as a one person.
Who's got? Tell me before you continue. Who's got the P's? Who's got the only
problem? Not even who's got the P's is if you get the money for Pogba, what's Woodward going to do with it? That's where
There's also
the problem comes in. So you just need, again, it's quite simple. You need a DM, you need a right wing, you need a striker, and if you're Danny, you need a right back. I personally don't think you need a right back, but by the by.
I hear you on that. We've got iTest with us as well. iTest, is your microphone working right today?
Yes. Can you hear me?
iTest.
Yes, yes, it's working.
Yes.
Come on now.
I want to talk about Ousmane Dembele.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here we go. Yes, come on.
Let's go. Here we go.
So about the injury issues, if you lot actually do your research, you could see that a lot of the injury issues isn't really because he's injury prone. When Barcelona had Valverde as the manager, there was a big injury issue with him as manager because the training wasn't intense enough. Yeah. And then when the players went into the matches, they got injured because obviously the matches are intense and when you're not training as intensely as the matches, is likely that you're going to get the injuries. And ever since he's left as manager, he's only had one injury. This season, he's only had one injury. And he's also said in an interview to when he first came into Barcelona, he was very skinny. He wasn't very muscly, which also led to him having a lot of injury issues. And he's also said that he's improved on that. He's started to build muscle so he could so he does the injuries don't come as often. So, and he's changed a lot of stuff. He said in an interview he's changed a lot of stuff. He's become more professional, and you're seeing this season he's only had one injury this season he hasn't even been that good for me. Let me ask you a
question. Is one season enough for you to say, he's definitely over the injury issues? That's one. Secondly, if he is over the injury issues, why would Barcelona want to sell him if he is as good as we think he is and he's over the injury issues?
Okay. Why Barcelona would want to sell him?
Answer the first one first. Wait. Okay. Is one season enough to know that he's definitely over the injury issues?
No, obviously it's not enough, but I believe it is because he's talked about how he's bulked up to stop injuries, but obviously it's not enough to see 100%. We need to see more. We need to see a longer.
Do you think it's worth? So you don't think it's worth the risk, or do you think it's worth the risk?
But I think it is worth the risk because I think a fully fit Ousmane Dembele is a dangerous player. This season he hasn't been that good as I was about to say because he came off a 1 year injury. He was missing the whole of last season, so it takes time to get back to your best.
Wait. And then the second question.
Yeah, the second one, please.
Yeah, the second question was if he's fit and he's ready, why is Barcelona trying to sell him if he's that good?
Why do we want to sell Pogba?
I'm not trying to trip him up, I just want to get his feelings.
Yeah, I know.
Because Barcelona are in massive financial issues, as you could see. Yeah, and anyway, they don't even want to sell him. If you hear what Laporta says, the new president of Barcelona, in his presidential speeches and all that, he said he wants to give Ousmane Dembele a new contract and all of that. So they don't even want to sell him.
I agree with you. They are trying to give him a new. They are trying to give him a new deal. What could help Man United is if he refuses, they might be able to buy him this year. My question to you would be this: as a staunch Ollie outer, you've said the training regimes need to be good enough to ensure that he doesn't get injured. Do you trust Ollie's training sessions to not injure him? Is Ollie a good enough coach than Valverde to not injure him?
Well, obviously, I haven't seen Ollie training the team because obviously the clips on YouTube aren't good enough. But I know that the system that Ollie uses, the way Ollie plays, I think Ousmane Dembele suits it perfectly.
Wait, what?
Hang on. No, I'll back him on this. I'll back him on this.
Listen, in terms of relying on individual brilliance, in a final third,
that's what I'm saying.
That suits Ousmane Dembele perfectly.
Right. Yeah, it does.
It suits him. It suits Ollie perfectly. That's the type of player.
Terry, can I answer?
Guys, one at a time, please.
Yeah, someone that can make something happen out of nothing. Like
I get that.
So what you're saying is, if you put Ousmane Dembele in a system where he's required to follow specific instructions and be in certain places at certain times and make certain passes, he could not do that.
No. It will restrict him, but like he won't be able to do the flair. He won't express himself. Yeah, but Oli's system.
So you're saying that you want Ousmane Dembele to express himself and not have a strict system for him.
Well, let me clarify. For me, Oli would be. Let me clarify.
No, I could clarify.
Oli would be the best manager if he had all the best players in the world, because these best players in the world would be able to express themselves. Oli would be if you had world-class players in every position. Oli could possibly be better than Pep because he allows.
What you're saying is right. But listen, if you take away all the world-class and top-class players in Pep's team and give him half this Man United squad, they're not running away with the league either, bruv. Like, it's all managers need top players to make their systems work, whether it's freestyle or it's prescribed. They need it. My question was not really about that, though. It was around, is Ollie's training sessions and is Ollie's management going to be intense? Do you think Ollie's is going to stop him from being injured? Like, because again, I'm not having a go here, but you said that the new training regime at Barcelona stopped him from getting injured.
Yeah, but Terry, can I back Ole here?
I mean, married
Wait,
up.
what?
Wait, Terry, okay, wait. Relax. Basically, I try to be like, what's it called? Not inept. Well, what's it called? Impartial.
Inept.
I would say that, to be honest, as much as I want to get onto Ole for being absolute muffin and playing players that he shouldn't, I also do have to say, at this point, I don't even know if Woodward is saying, no, Maguire's our poster boy. I don't care if he's injured, play him. Pogba's our poster boy. I don't care if he's injured, play him. I don't even know if that's being said. Knowing the Glazers, there might be some silly contract that says, Pogba has to spend 40% of the time on the TV covering up this many pixels to be able to cover his contract. There's probably something stupid like that. And to be honest, he doesn't even get the selection a lot of the time. But doesn't mean I don't think he's still a muffin and doesn't make stupid decisions.
So what you're saying is, wait. So what you're saying is, if the Glazers actually and Woodward actually backed Ollie with the players he needs and fits his system, that if you like it or not, it's his system, he actually might be able to do something. Is that what you're saying?
But what I'm saying is what he's given now, he's not doing good enough with. One sec. What he's doing right now, he's not even doing good enough with what he's being given. But I'm just saying, if he was, he'd still have the issues, which is why I say I don't believe Ole under this regime could win us a title, but I expect a certain level that he's not delivering. So
I just wanted to say, I wanted to say something. This might be common knowledge. I'm not teaching anyone to suck eggs. You know what you said there about the Glazers putting things in place that Pogba has to spend time on the TV screen? That's obviously sarcastic and doesn't happen. But do you all know that a lot of players have contracts that state when they come on and off the pitch, as substitutions dictate how much money they earn? Yeah. So certain players, there was an Arsenal player that had a contract where if he played over 60 minutes, his salary almost doubled. So he'd go from 40,000 to 80,000. And if you looked at the stats, he was substituted off nearly always at the 58th minute in nearly every single game. So the club didn't pay the extra salaries out. Others, if they get substituted on and it's for more than 30 minutes, the salary is higher. I would not be I would not be surprised if there are multiple clauses in many of the players' contracts where if they're subbed on, they get paid 20 grand, 30 grand a week.
Terry, that's why Barcelona won't play Coutinho. It's because he's got
and these things legitimately exist. So, but I know you're only making a point, and I'm not. There's loads of things wrong with Ollie. I'm not denying it, but sometimes people say, "Oh, bring on the subs earlier." I'm not allowed.
That's too far. Why would you go after Ousmane Dembele, who's a left winger, when you need a right winger?
No, he's a right winger, bro. Whoa.
Is he a right winger?
No.
Yeah. Wait, don't think about FIFA. Don't think about Ultimate.
Can I tell you one thing? Dembele has as many goals on his left foot and he does on his right foot for Barcelona. He's left-footed, but he's the most two-footed player in the world.
He's amazing. We've got some super chats here. I want to do the first one. I'm going to go to each of you quickly. Guys, I'm going to go to each of you quickly here on this. Only one big summer signing can be made. Who do you get? Ram, if you could only make one signing for your club this summer, who are you getting?
Haaland.
Ninks?
Sancho.
Prime?
Harry Kane.
Eye test? Is that
Ousmane Dembele?
David,
Haaland.
Aid.
Realistically, or just like if I could get
What do you want?
Yeah, who do you want?
Casemiro, unrealistically, but never going to get him. So indeed,
KJ.
Casemiro's a DM.
Yeah, Casemiro's a baller.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
Okay. Anyway,
KJ, what's yours?
Alan St. Maximum.
I knew he's gonna say
Sancho.
Should have said Wilson.
Different, bruv. I want pure gammon.
Alan St. Maximid.
No, mine's a pure gammon Brexit signing. Give me Ben White, bro. Give me Ben. No, I'm joking.
You can speak English.
The Podfather put in a super chat, but it's gone. You got it for me. There you go. It says De Bruyne was world class at Wolfsburg, not a top team, and this means Gerrard is.
Oh no.
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, okay, cool. 2 Champions League finals with bums, consistent for a decade. Listen,
Alonso wasn't a bum.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Torres up front, yeah. Suarez and Torres. Sure.
Lie about how good Liverpool's teams were. That's why there was so much banter about you failing. There was a few times, like Roy Hodgson's team was bang average, but some of your teams in the noughties were wicked. Your teams in the 90s were Steve McManaman and Robbie Fowler attacking, bruv. Like you had ballers. Don't track. I know that I weren't playing them, but you guys had good teams, no doubt about it whatsoever. Slens here says Ousmane, without the injuries, would slyly be on Sancho.
No, he wouldn't be. That's outrageous.
He'd be better, but
he wouldn't be. No, he wouldn't.
No, he would be. David.
No, he wouldn't be.
Explain why.
Hey, Terry, can I say?
He was Sancho before Sancho.
He wouldn't.
He was
Terry,
Sancho.
can I say something? They're complete. Can I just say something? If you look at the progression of the number 10 nowadays, the majority of number 10s, they've shifted to the wings. Like, if you look at De Bruyne, a lot of the space he operates on is the right side. Grealish is a 10. He's on the wing, sort of. Sancho spends a lot of time on the wing. Neymar is a 10. He doesn't play in the hole as much as he used to. Number 6 is, in fact, actually thread passes a lot. That's why you have people like Thiago and stuff. Sancho's more of a number 10. Dembele is an inside forward that relies on his athleticism and pace and is 2-footed. They're different players. But Dembele was being compared to Mbappe before he was injured. Sancho's never consistently got compared to Mbappe. Mbappe's always been in a level above. Dembele would be better. He got 22 assists and 10 goals. Sancho hasn't beaten that, I don't think.
You know. Okay, let me put it like this. They were both at Dortmund, all right? They were both at Dortmund. Okay, I watched both of them. I know which one I prefer. Second of all, in Dortmund, okay.
You didn't even know Dembele was 2-footed. You didn't even know Dembele was 2-footed, and you're trying to tell me that you watched
when he was at Dortmund,
you didn't even know he was 2-footed.
Let him go.
I know he can play on both wings. I know he's 2-footed, but I've mainly seen him on the left when he was at Dortmund. He could go and play on the right because in Tuchel's system, man was able to switch wings because that's what Tuchel does. Okay, so just saying, when they were both in Dortmund, Ousmane Dembele 6 goals and 12 assists. Right, in the league. This is in the league. Jadon Sancho, in his best season, 17 goals, 16 assists. I rest my case. Thank you very much.
First season compared to third season.
No.
Everyone, great debate. Well done. Great show today. Great panel. Great callers. Smash that like button for us, ladies and gentlemen. That Liverpool podcast is out later today. We're back tomorrow with more content for you as we start to build up to the return of the Premier League. And Thursday, I believe, the announcement will be made. That's all I'm going to say. Take care. Goodbye. We're going to have a very special guest on one of the shows tomorrow, Wednesday. Keep your eye out.